Hello everyone and good evening to one and all. And thank you for joining the today's webinar on proven approach to aerospace zero defect program. I am Franklin from IDAT. I will be the moderator for the today's session. Just before starting the webinar, there is a little housekeeping session. That is, we request everyone to mute your mic. Second one, if you have a bad network bandwidth, may I request you to turn off your webcam also so that you can able to see the presentation as well as you can able to clearly listen to the audio. And also you are requested to post your questions in the chat box. We will be answering all your questions at the end of the presentation. A recorded version of this webinar will be available in your YouTube under IDAT channel. So once again, thanking everyone for joining this webinar session. I would like to invite Mr. Shekhar, President IDAT, to set the tone for the today's webinar, as well as to talk about the IDAT's introduction. Over to Mr. Shekhar, please.
Thank you, Franklin. Welcome to everyone. I am the President for Aerospace Industry Development Association of Tamil Nadu, IDAT in short. This association was formed 5 years ago in 2015. Primarily, it focuses on aerospace and defense industry and aims to promote companies that are doing business in the aerospace and defense segment. And over the last 5 years, we have done a lot of activities. We have built an ecosystem of 80 members right now. We anticipate building this to 150 to 200 members. I know that many of you who joined today are not members of IDAT. So we encourage you to go and take a look at idat.in, our website, and understand more about our association and what we do. We work with the state government as well as the central government on many initiatives. So that's an introduction about IDAT. What I would like to do is give a little bit of a stage setting before Mr. Manikandan takes over. What I would like to do is first talk about what is zero defects. I think we all know about quality, right? Quality is about conformance to specification. So zero defects as an idea is not something new. It has been around for a long time. In fact, almost 50 plus years since the World War II time frame. And a lot of that was started in Lockheed Martin's original company called Martin Company. And I believe it started with Sir Philip Crosby, who was the quality control manager for the Pershing missile program. And he coined 4 principles of zero defects. One is quality is conformance to requirements, as I said. So that's the primary criteria. Second principle is defect prevention is preferable to quality inspection and correction. So I think we all agree on that. Third one is zero defects is a quality standard, which means that is what we all aim to achieve. And fourth one is quality is always measured in monetary terms, which is the price of non-conformance. So it's important that quality is, in your organization is measured that way. In fact, it's I think we all know that it's better to do it right the first time than to have to correct a mistake later. And Mr. Manikandan's most recent job was at Rolls-Royce. So let me pick a couple of information from there. The founder of Rolls-Royce, Henry Royce, said, "Striving for perfection is in everything, and accept nothing merely right or good enough." Most importantly, cost of quality, as I said, is almost estimated at about 20% of the turnover. So imagine if you can do a zero defect in terms of what you manufacture and how that can impact your bottom line. I can give you, while Mr. Manikandan is going to talk about manufacturing, I can also tell you something about quality in non-manufacturing area of aerospace. I used to run a technical publication organization for Boeing in Chennai. If you think about quality in zero defects in manufacturing, imagine about zero defects in technical publication. Why is it important in zero defects in technical publication? To do that, we actually used to demonstrate to all our new employees with an example. Many years ago, about 10 plus years ago, or almost 15 years ago, there was a crash of a plane with a small business jet in Los Angeles. It costed lives. And at the end of the day, when they did a check on why it crashed, they found that basically because one washer was missing from the assembly. And they found out that during the last maintenance, the maintenance guy who went through the technical documentation missed that washer. Because of that, imagine the kind of thing that you need to do in ensuring that you do. So just wanted to set the context, and I would like to pass it back to Mr. Franklin to introduce Mr. Manikandan.
Yeah, we will turn the time over to our presenter. And today's presenter is Mr. Manikandan. A brief about Mr. Manikandan is a business professional, expertise in process improvement and organizational cultural transformation. He has totally 19 plus years of experience in designing, deploying, managing and leading zero defect program, operational excellence, business excellence, and large-scale continuous improvement initiatives across aerospace, electronics, and auto component industry. He led the aerospace zero defect program in Rolls-Royce India, and he has become a role model for the Rolls-Royce civil aerospace globally. He is certified American Society for Quality in Six Sigma Black Belt, PMI certified project management professional, Nokia certified value and safety champion, as well as he is a Rolls-Royce trained zero defect trainer as well as the coach. Manikandan did his BE Electrical Engineering from NIT Jaipur and MBA from MBA in operational from NIT Trichy, and also he got the Best Student Award in 2008 from DOMS NIT. He presented his experience of designing, deploying, managing, and leading the zero defect program in ISRO, then HAL Management Academy, Tata Advanced Materials, Bosch, Anna Universities, and NITs. So it's time for presenter, and I'm requesting Mr. Manikandan to take over from here. Thank you, Anand.
Good afternoon. Is my screen is visible to everybody?
I think yes.
Okay, thank you. Welcome to the knowledge sharing session on proven approach to zero defects. So the objective of the 60-minute sessions are to ensure we all understand and commit to zero defects. And I will talk about the 5 enablers of a successful zero defect program. And I will share my experience, how did I design, deploy, and manage a successful zero defect program with Rolls-Royce. The one good thing with all organizations are quality metrics are continuing to improve. Number of customer complaints are coming down year after year. All the companies are doing wonderful job. At the same time, right first time is also improving. This is really a good news. Can you tell me what is the one thing that is most important in aerospace industry? Your answer, please.
Someone said safety, quality, and zero accident. I'm just reading from the chat box, Mr. Manikandan. Perfection.
Please, Franklin. Yes.
Perfection and FOD.
FOD, okay. The right answer is product safety. What do you mean by product safety? Our customers, operator, and general public don't suffer danger, injury, or death as a result of your product. And zero defect is a prerequisite to achieve product safety. Customer disruption is always unacceptable. You can look at the photograph here. Whenever there is emergency landing, we can look at the emotions on the people's face. And there was a aircraft which was landing on the sea. So for aerospace industry, there is no parking lot in the air. So product safety is the one thing which we aim for. Do you think zero defect is possible and achievable? What is your answer?
Some are saying yes.
Okay. Any no?
Some are saying but difficult.
Difficult. Okay.
Somebody saying no.
No. Okay. It's true. If you think you can achieve zero defects. If you think you cannot, you are right. You cannot achieve zero defects. That's what Henry Ford said. Zero defect is a mindset. It always seems impossible until it is done. If you ask me, from my 3 years of designing and deploying, managing and leading a zero defect program, achieving zero defect is possible. Now let's see. And can you give me some of your personal examples where you achieve zero defects? Any answer, Franklin?
No, as of now, no chat.
Okay.
Medical.
Fine. I will.
Somebody talking about medical.
Okay. True.
Our personal banking.
Personal banking. True. Very true. Yes. Are you depositing your money in the wrong bank account? We don't do it. Are you entering a wrong home instead of your home after your office hours? And will you go for a surgery to a Six Sigma certified doctor? Are you committing the same percentage of errors in all activities you do? Sometimes we say, we are human being, we are committing mistakes. So in order to become a certified human being, we are telling we have to do some errors. And we also say, no jobs, no error. My only question is, are you committing same percentage of errors in all activities you do? The answer is no. Whenever we feel that thing is very important to us, we will achieve zero defects. If you don't attach importance to that thing, we will not aim for zero defect. And will you accept a defective gas cylinder at your home? No. These are the few personal examples where we achieve and sustain zero defects. President IDOT made my job simpler. He spoke about the 4 absolutes of quality: ask, kind, buy, flips, be grasped by. Quality is defined as conformance to customer requirements, and the quality standard is zero defects. Defect prevention, not inspection, to ensure quality. Any amount of inspection will not guarantee you the zero defect. Only defect prevention will help us to achieve zero defect. In management language, we need to talk everything in terms of money. So quality is measured through the cost of non-quality or cost of poor quality. Can you tell me what are some kinds of issues in your factory that is creating customer dissatisfaction? You can come on the chat box.
Delay.
Any other response?
Poor quality.
Poor quality.
Rework, price.
Rework. Okay. Fine. I will go to my answer. Most of the time, I noticed in the shop floor there was no supervision support and failure to use or follow the instructions. Sometimes we have instructions, These instructions are confusing and misleading in nature. Shift handovers, no proper communication. Sometimes it happens even within the same shift. Time pressures on the people. Sometimes shortage of staff, sometimes shortage of resources. And night shifts are also causing some amount of problems. Shortage of equipments, interruption. In addition to this, when I launched the Zero Defect initiative, people started talking about design quality. Design is wrong, how can we achieve zero defect? Even some of them started telling, we are not getting zero defect parts from our supplier, how can we achieve zero defects? And sometimes we even hear the organization culture, the management behaviors which are preventing us to achieve zero defects. It's true, all the issues revealed, but there is a way out. So when we say zero defect, quality can be measured in 4 dimensions. I mean, zero defect means zero defect in your product, zero defect in your information, zero defect in your service, and zero defects in our delivery. Zero defect means zero waste across all processes in the manufacturing supply chain. In aerospace industry, 60% of the build problem are caused by a quality issue somewhere in the supply chain.
Mr.
As
Manikantha,
President,
sorry
yes.
to interrupt. I think a lot of people are telling the presentation mode is not activated. Are we still in the first slide 1? Can you please?
No.
Can
No.
I think?
For which slide is moving?
No, I think we are in still slide 1. There are a
Is
lot
it?
of response. Yes.
Yes, 1 second.
So go to the slide.
Yes, 1 second.
Again, share your presentation.
1 second.
Yeah, please.
Just give me a second.
Yeah, please.
I'm closing and opening the presentation.
Yeah, please.
I think now someone has to grant me permission.
Yeah, you just share. Nobody.
But it's not allowing me to share now. 1 second.
Yeah.
Now you must grant. Okay. I think I'm experiencing some technical difficulties here.
1 minute. What I will do.
This is not. You can.
I'm
start
sharing
sharing from your end. Give me. Yeah.
Yes.
Give the control to me.
Now, just tell me the slide number.
Slide number. You go further down.
1 minute. This is the one.
1 second. We were there in the first slide. Okay.
Next.
Go down. Next. Next. Next.
Okay.
Next. It's okay. Next slide.
Is it okay?
It's okay.
Okay, you can continue that.
Fine. Now we can go to the next slide. Click
Yeah.
one more time. Click one more time.
Got it? We can start?
Yeah, got it. I will start.
Yeah, please. Sorry about the technical delay. Go ahead.
Yes. 1 second. It's okay. 1 second. Am I presenting now? Or you are presenting now?
No, it is
Frank?
from my computer. I think your computer having some issue, no? So I'm presenting from my
Yes.
computer. Once you're
Okay.
done,
You can go to the. You can go to the next slide.
yeah.
So, what you will do need to get there to achieve zero defect. Next slide. And click 5 times. Our zero defect approach is focused on preventing the causes of non-conformances throughout the life cycle, right from design through manufacturing into service. If you want to achieve zero defect, you have to set right the 5 enablers in the organization. One is the organization production system. Organization production system is about enterprise system. It's not only manufacturing production system, part development system and customer service system, assembly and testing, and supply chain production system, and etc. And human factors are causing most of the issues in any organizations. We need to focus on the address human factors and just culture. We need to promote a just culture wherein people can raise their opinions freely without any fear. And project management is need of the day. Whatever improvement project we do to achieve zero defect, it could be Lean or Six Sigma or TOC or design thinking. We need to know project management. And the last but not the least, you have to master all the proactive toolkits. We will talk about one by one. Let us move to the next slide. Click 3 times, Franklin. So production system is a system for producing the best quality, lowest cost, and fast delivery everywhere. There is a change in the slide. Now Mr. Ayyappan is presenting. What is that?
Oh my God.
Okay.
Mr. Ayyappan?
A minimum.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So production system is a minimum standard of requirements for working. We call it Toyota production system, Canon production system. We call it in our easy way. It is lean way of working.
Sorry, excuse me, but the presentation is showing up only in a little window. I think, I don't know if everybody is having the problem, but I see one other person has reported it.
Frankly, let me try.
Yeah.
Let me share. If you please give the rights to me, I will do it now.
No, I've
Please
closed.
bear with me.
Yeah. it's
Okay,
closed.
please. Okay. Again. Could you give me a minute? I will log out and I will rejoin.
Yeah, please.
Participant, please give me a minute so that we can kill this issue at one go.
Now it is clear, Mr. Manikandan? No, please unmute and talk. You're in mute mode.
Hello.
Yeah, now clear.
Okay, fine then.
So you can now
Okay.
share your presentation.
Yes, it is right now. The presentation is visible now?
Yes.
Okay, fine. Thank you. So, our zero defect approach is focused on preventing the causes of non-conformance throughout the life cycle, from design through manufacturing into service. And we spoke about all the 5 zero defect enablers. We will look at the first enabler, production system. We spoke about that. Production system is a system for managing people, leading change, bringing in operational improvements and technology. And if we look at Indian production systems, we have got lot of improvement methodology, Lean, Six Sigma, TOC, VAVE. Sometimes even people make use of design thinking, total quality management, 5S, low cost automation, Pokoyoke, and statistical process control. And today we talk about green production system. In green production system, the organizations aim to reduce, reuse and recycle the waste. At the same time, we ensure that minimum energy consumption during the operation of the product and post disposal, post product life cycle disposal, and organizations are looking for recyclable packaging. So today we moved from normal production system to green production system. And the second enabler is one of the important enabler, that is human factors. In the year 1987, Canada Transport identifies 12 most common human factors which impact quality and accidents in a year. Then they started training their people on the 12 common human factors. Then Federal Aviation Academy saw this, then they thought it is not only important for your country, it is important for the industry as a whole. Then they started running a course on dirty dozen. What is human factor? Human factor is anything that affects human performance. What is human performance? A human output which has an impact on the safety, security, and efficiency of aeronautical operations. You are with me now?
Yes, yes.
Okay, fine. Thank you. So, dirty dozen is all about lack of 6 things and more of 6 things. Lack of communication, lack of knowledge, lack of awareness, lack of teamwork, lack of assertiveness, and lack of resources. And more of pressure, more of complacency, more of distractions, more of stress, fatigue, and norms. Trust me, wherever you go and work, we cannot eliminate the dirty dozen. 1 or 2 dirty dozens are bound to exist. It is how are we going to handle the dirty dozen is going to matter a lot. As per industry study, 4 on an average, 4 human factor jointly contributes 1 defect in any organization. Even I did a project in one of the Rolls-Royce suppliers where we realized average 6 human factors are contributing defect in the shop floor. Then we launched a year-long project. End of the year, we brought it down to whenever there is a rejection, we go and see is there any human factor attached to this. Then we record that too. Then later on, the end of the year, we came to know which was reduced from 6 human factors to 3 human factors on an average, contributing towards 1 quality defect in the shop floor. Industry average is 4. Let us go through one small case study to appreciate the concept of human factors. Before anything becomes a disaster or accident, there will be few human factors. The early warning. Once we ignore the early warning, then which will lead to big disasters. What happened in the year 1984, December 2 and 3? Everyone remembers that the unfortunate incident took place in Bhopal. In the evening, people noticed that many lines and valves were not functioning, which means the methoisocyanide system in poor condition. And around 10:30 p.m., water entered the tank 610, where they had 42 ton of MIC. Pressure increased by 10 times around 11 p.m. One of the maintenance operator went and saw, and he thought this 10 times increase in pressure was due to instrument error. He neglected that. It was instrument error. Then people went and informed the supervisor around 11:45 p.m. It looks like there is a minor leak of MIC. Then team gathered, they discussed it, and they decided we have a tea break at 12:15 p.m. We will attend this gas leak after tea break. So people went for tea break. At around 11:40 p.m., the temperature overshoot, it was off the scale. One of the police officer who lived 2 kilometers away from the factory, he called the factory officials, Union Carbide, is there any gas leakage? They said, no, there is no gas leakage. Things are working perfectly. Around 12:50 a.m., one operator sensed that yes, there is a gas leakage, and he went and pressed the alarm button. As per system, public siren and factory siren should be coupled together. But public siren was switched off. And what happened? Around 2:15 a.m., there was a long alarm. Both the alarm were making noise, which led to the immediate death of 2,000 plus people and 5 lakh people exposed to this gas. Even after 4 decades, people are still suffering. Let us look at, please correlate human factors to this case study. Many lines and valves were not functioning well, which means somebody saw proper maintenance was not done. Then somebody in the system should stand up and tell maintenance is not being done. People thought this became a established norm. Not doing maintenance properly was accepted by everyone. It's an unwritten rule. We can see clearly norm is related to the case 1. And here, water entered, pressure increased. Here, if you see, people made the assumption, lack of knowledge. The operator on his own, he assumed that it's an instrument error. And point number 3, it is a tea time. Tea time I won't work. I will go only for tea. Complacency. They don't want to move out of comfort zone. Then, lack of communication. When the police officer called around 1 a.m. and he wanted to check with the Union Carbide officials, everybody said no gas leak. There was no transparent communication. And here, this guy noticed, went and pressed the alarm. Again, he himself switched off the alarm. When somebody came and questioned him, why did you press the alarm? He went and switched it off. So this guy does not have the assertiveness to challenge the other guy. Then by 2:15, everything become disaster. It cost everything. So if you look at this, minimum 7 human factors were involved in creating this Bhopal gas leak issue. So before it became a technical problem, there were human factors. If you can minimize and reduce the human factors or eliminate the human factors, imagine a situation, somebody challenged why the systems are in poor condition. Stop the plant. Put the system in order, then restart the plant. We would have avoided this incident itself. So before we face any technical issue, there were few human factor issues. So we need to understand the human factors which are causing quality issues in the organization and address the human factors. That's why aerospace industry puts more thrust on training people on human factors. All are with me? Hello?
Yes, I think yes.
Yes.
We are getting
Okay.
messages, yes. Okay.
Oh, fine. Okay, the third enabler is just culture. Just culture is a culture where people feel without any fear, they can go and report the problems. Open and transparent culture. In open and transparent culture, people will raise their hand if they make any mistake. It happened to me once in HAL. When I was there as a project engineer in HAL Nasik division, I was responsible for carrying out daily inspection of MiG-21 aircraft before flight. I used to clear MiG-21 aircraft for flight. That day morning, after all the trades completed the daily inspection, from electrical instrument, I went inside the cockpit. Engine was in on condition. I checked the voltage, I checked the oxygen supply. Everything was perfect. Then I informed my people, showing thumbs up. Yes, everything is okay. We can call pilot. Then they called pilot. I was trying to come out of the cockpit. While I was coming out of the cockpit, there I made a twist. I was wearing one watch in my hand. That watch chain broke. And small pin in my watch fell inside the cockpit. Immediately again I went inside the cockpit and I was in search of the pin. I was not able to find. By the time pilot approached the aircraft, then everybody started telling, Mani, come down, come and sign, come and sign. The flight preparation checklist. I came down. My AGM was standing there. I approached him. Sir, this is what happened. See, my pin got stuck inside the cockpit. I am not able to locate it. What to do, I don't know. Immediately there was a pat on my shoulder. My AGM told, thank you, Mani, thank you for informing me. Then he went and spoke to the pilot. Pilot went to he was returned to his cabin. Then later on, everybody jumped inside the cockpit. But that pin, unfortunately, that pin was not visible to anybody's eye. The decision was taken to seat lower. It took 4 days. Move the aircraft to the seat lowering bay, remove the seat, and it was found out. And nobody fired me. Nobody asked me, why did you do like this? Some kind of, what do you call, whenever we make mistake, you raise the hand. Imagine a situation. I only know I dropped this pin inside the cockpit. If I keep quiet, when the aircraft flies in the air, there is a huge possibility this pin will go and block any kind of micro switches, or it will make some malfunctioning of a hydraulic system. We cannot imagine what would happen in the air. So whenever you make mistake, we have to raise our hand, and management should, as an organization, we have to encourage the people to raise the issue whenever they make any mistakes. Report the risks, minimize at-risk behavior, participate in learning, Avoid reckless behavior. Somebody is doing some mistake knowingly, please don't forgive them. If you know there is something wrong, stop and fix it. We always use 3 words: human error. I want to do some activity, but I am using a wrong measuring equipment to measure that dimension. That is human error. If you know that you are using a wrong measuring equipment, reach out to your supervisor, report it. Make use of the right kind of measuring equipment. This is just for an example for human error. Risky behavior. You are supposed to take the part out of the ceiling cover and measure it. But you don't remove the part out of the cover. You are measuring the dimension when the part was there inside the cover. With cover you are measuring, ceiling cover. It's a risky behavior which cannot be tolerated. Reckless behavior is something like you don't measure, you simply write the values. Simply write your values and signing. These kind of behavior, without mercy, we need to punish the people. I don't know how many of you remember. It happened 4 years ago. When ISRO launched a satellite, launch was successful. After reaching certain height, 2 heat shields supposed to get separated from the satellite. Unfortunately, heat shield separation did not take place. Then from the control room, ISRO scientists realized that there is a pipe which carries air. The pipe internal diameter was 10 mm. So to separate the heat shields, air flows through the 10 mm ID. It separates the heat shield. After launch, they realized only 7 mm was effectively available, which means there was a blockage. End of the day, what happened? It was a failure. Nation sprayed on 40 crores worth of satellite. Launch became unsuccessful. So the guy who's supposed to take a 10 mm ball, put inside the pipe and checks whether it is freely flowing or not. That guy did not do a proper job. Without checking, he signed, pipe is okay. But end of the day, we lost 400 crores of satellite and the nation sprayed. So these kind of behaviors we should not tolerate. And the 4th enabler for achieving zero defect is project management. If you go and ask the senior level executive worldwide, most of them say it's poor project management, which is causing problem in the organization. So all the zero defect program improvement project will undergo some kind of projects. It could be TOC, Lean or Six Sigma. So project management is one of the enabler. The last enabler is the zero defect toolkits. When we design the part, make use of design FMEA. When you design the process, before you complete your process design, make sure that you have process FMEA in place. You have control plan in place. Then wherever possible, please do mistake proofing. Have the proper measurement system analysis in place. Undo the process capability. Ensure that process capability is more than 2. Then put online SPC, which will prompt the operators on the line whenever something goes beyond the limit. They can see the pattern, they can act before the defect occurs. Even after applying all the proactive tools, if something goes wrong, then make use of AD problem solving. The one key thing here is we have to make use of the zero defect toolkits systematically. We need to make use of all the zero defect tools. If you say I don't have design FMEA, I will do only process FMEA. No, it is not acceptable. This is a system of tools we have to apply together. Then only we will be able to achieve zero defects. You are with me? I will take you through the proven approach to zero defects now. I did the zero defect program for 3 years. The first year I focused only on zero defect culture building and quick wins. What did I do? We said zero defect vision. Whenever we go and interacted with organizations, quality was considered was something tactical. They have goal for the particular year. When I asked them, after 3 years, where do you want to go? Nobody has got the visibility. This year we will do an improvement, 70% improvement. Okay, what about next year? There was no vision. So we asked people to prepare a quality vision. After 3 years, where you want to go? Then we helped the organizations to develop a zero defect program. Program means number of interrelated projects managed in a coordinated way. So organization identified the number of projects which will enable the organization to achieve zero defects. So once the organization prepared the zero defect program, there is a evaluation mechanism. We had some 10-point mechanism in place. Then we used to take the zero defect program from all the 6 suppliers and we evaluate it just to check whether the zero defect program submitted by the supplier really is it a worth zero defect program. We will evaluate it and we approve it. Then we also see there is one element in all zero defect program: identification of zero defect related training. From my experience, we identified some 15 trainings, right from product safety, problem solving, MSA, Lean, Six Sigma, PFMA, all kind of trainings put together. We identified 15 training, and we want to train 100% of the population on all the proactive toolkits. And month on month, I used to monitor. Did they complete the training? Do they need any support? Then slowly we were promoting the awareness. Then later on, we trained all the senior leaders on zero defect. It was a 3-day leadership training program. So all the senior leaders in the organization underwent the 3-day zero defect leadership training. After that, some of the selected people underwent zero defect train the trainer workshop. Then all the trainers carried out the day-long zero defect workshop and covered 100% of the people in the organization, both within the company and the suppliers. So once you set the pitch right, people know what tool to use and how to use. Then we asked people to find out the immediate customer hurt issues, the recurring problem. They initiated improvement projects and people started burning down the concessions. And we put zero defect governance mechanism in place. After 6 months, we organized a zero defect supplier conference wherein all the suppliers came and presented their progress. So all the 6 suppliers, they started learning from each other. If you look at 6 suppliers zero defect program, all are not same. It is totally different. So the zero defect program developed and owned by the supplier was unique and it is suitable for the organization. So end of the first year, 60% of the customer complaint came down and concession 65% concession was reduced. So good business improvement. The second year, what we did, we asked the suppliers to identify few focused parts. So minimum 2 to 3 parts they need to identify. We gave the options to them. Based on the business criticality, they identified 2 to 3 parts and they started focusing on achieving zero defect only in those selected parts. Then we had a tool called product maturity assessment. Whatever product they selected, each project underwent product maturity assessment. Based on the product maturity assessment, improvement plan was drawn. In product maturity assessment, we had all the proactive tools in place: DFMEA, PFMEA, control plan, FMEA. While doing the product maturity assessment, The first question was, did you involve designers while developing the process FMEA? The answer is no. Their score on FMEA will be close to only 20 or 30. The mandate was to achieve zero defects, we need to move the scores to more than 80%. Here, instead of telling I have PFMEA, I have control plan, by using the tool product maturity assessment, each supplier evaluated their FMEA. Oh, my FMEA score is only 40. Oh, I did not involve designer. Immediately they will go and involve designer. So each of the proactive quality tools will be evaluated here. So it will become quantitative now. It is not something in subjective nature. They were guidelines, what they need to do to make it gold standard. More than 80% score for each proactive tool application. To do that, they have a plan in place. Then they identified a number of zero defect improvement project using various process improvement methodology, TOC, Lean, Six Sigma, and Kaizen. For us, zero defect means it's not only product quality, it is information quality, delivery quality, service quality, and everything. Then once in a month, I used to go to all the supplier place and do zero defect walks and zero defect review. Then I devised a zero defect dashboard with enablers and results. 5 enablers and 2 results. So everything was shown in a quantitative manner. Then once in 3 months, there was cementing session. What was their learning? So we used to have cementing session for knowledge management purpose. So second year went. By the time 2 of my suppliers achieved zero defects. In the third year, we asked the people to apply product maturity assessment for all parts and all features. And the zero defect dashboard was revised. And we put the sustaining mechanism. How are we going to sustain the zero defect culture? This is where training like product integrity, it should happen once in 2 years. Then in-process rejections should be brought down to 0. We protected the customer, we protected the build line. Then we need to focus on in-process rejection. Then we asked the people, go and focus on in-process rejection. That is the place where project like human factors all come into picture. So this is the simple approach what we followed. And we took the organization in the zero defect journey. On the end of the third year, there were 70% reduction in the customer complaint and 90% reduction in the concessions. Once we apply all the proactive tools, things will start materialize. Zero defect would become possible. This is what all about the approach I adopted and got a bit of success on my journey to zero defects. So there is a difference between traditional improvement and zero defect thinking. In traditional improvement, we wait for something to happen and see why it happened and try to remove the cause. It cannot happen again. In zero defect thinking, we decide what we want to happen and you think about what could go wrong. Eliminate or reduce the likelihood of it going wrong. Manage the process, use the feedback to ensure it continues to give us the right outcome. So you plan and you do it. This is what the difference between quality, normal quality improvement and zero defect thinking. I know the zero defect journey was a bit tough. There was something duck in the water. Outside we remain calm, but underneath you have to put lot of efforts to make this happen. If you look at this, if there is a problem, if you can detect the problem at drawing stage, you will be spending 1 rupee. If the part goes in the hands of the customer, it fails in the air, you will be end up in spending lakhs of rupees. I already gave you one example. A small pipe, there was some blockage inside that, which costed 40 crore worth of satellite. So field failures, it will be disastrous. So sooner you get the defect and correct it, you will achieve zero defects. So through zero defects, you can save a lot of money. As Mr. Segar was pointing out, cost of poor quality was somewhere between 20 to 25% in any organization. If you do it first time right, you can minimize it to say 10% or 5% of your annual revenue. You can save a lot of money. Not only that, 40 to 50% of people's time was spent on doing the rework. Whenever I go to any organization and get inside the shop floor to do the go look see, I noticed at least 40 to 50% of the time we spend on making a bad product to a right product. I mean the rework. So doing first time right will always save money and will give you a lot of satisfaction. So I request you to join the zero defects movement to make the place as a wonderful place. Our organization is a wonderful place. With this, I conclude my session and I will open the session for question and answers. Thank you.
Yeah, so while we wait for the questions, I wanted to share one other example that we all know now. Remember this Boeing 737 MAX, new aircraft that was introduced into service more than 2 years ago. And that during the process of certification with FAA, it comes out now that there was a lax in terms of how this was certified. And they introduced something new control system that actually control how the aircraft flies, especially in unique situations. And that was not properly certified. And that resulted in 2 crashes. And now the entire program is grounded. More than 400 planes have been built and they're in the storage. Boeing is now in the verge of losing billions of dollars. Billions, not millions. I think Boeing will probably lose in excess of $10 billion in just because of this program. And their annual revenue is 60 billion in terms of commercial revenue. Okay. So just one mistake or one wrong step in certification between Boeing and FAA has really costed this. Now, of course, there'll be a lot of finger pointing going on as to who did what and all that. But at the end of the day, we cannot afford not to have zero defects in aerospace. That's the point I want to make.
Yes. Even I remember one more example to add to your point, sir. I don't know how many of you remember Nimrod aircraft. It was used by Royal Air Force. Royal Air Force used this aircraft for 30 plus years. During the Afghan war, one of the Nimrod aircraft caught fire. 12 Royal Air Force people were killed. It was blasted in the air after mid-air refueling. Then there was a committee was formed. When I looked at the committee's findings, the committee's finding was the inquiry officer has written, this aircraft does not have airworthiness. After 30 years of safe flight, now after the incident, on court of inquiry, they wrote this aircraft is not fit for flying. You know what happened? Royal Air Force went and grounded all the aircrafts. And they, if you go through that investigation report, lot of human factors from the management. Management applied the pressure and got it certified. So there were a lot of human factors. All the Nimrod aircrafts have been grounded now. So on aerospace is the industry, even after your retirement, if it is proved that your negligence caused the quality defect and accident, you will be put behind bar.
Nice.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Manikandan. Really a very serious webinar with respect to the safety. Right now we have 3 questions. The first question is from your slide number 21, where you are talking about year 1, year 2, year 3. People are asking question on year 1, whether the volume of job could be limited or less. What was supplier's interest in zero defect? Was there any financial incentive?
No.
That's the question number 1.
No financial incentive was given to the supplier. Yes, of course, they raised the question. If you are asking us to undergo all these 15 kind of training, who will bear the cost of the training? And the moment we started telling people, go and apply all the proactive tools. Once people start applying all the proactive tools, say all the 10 proactive tools, it will take more time to produce the part and get the fare approved. So a lot of problem we came across. We said, we will not give you any training support. We are not the training organization. Whereas we did the training initially only within our company. But I used to go and do a day-long product safety workshop for all the senior managers in the supplier places. There was no incentive was given.
And you mean to say the volume of job is limited or it's very less?
It is as per the contract.
It's
We
as
cannot
per the
take limited, and year on year it will increase. See, they got into a long-term business agreement with the company. So year on year that will increase.
Okay. And also you were mentioned about SPC. Is it applicable for the batch production by the supplier?
Yes. Something like people are manufacturing brackets or pipes. They do it a batch production. We are not only demanding SPC, we are telling it should be online SPC. We demanded, most of the people implemented, and they saved a lot of money. We may say it is a bracket which cost only say $20, but if the same bracket fails in the air, it is equivalent to the cost of the aircraft. So SPC is the one where people started using it. They started appreciating the concept, which I saw in the shop floor.
Okay.
Because number of reworks came down. Operators were happy.
Okay, if the bracket is less than 10 numbers, what to do?
No. This, even if it is one piece, they have to do it.
Got it. Thanks. And the third question is, how do we effectively implement zero defect for a build to print company where the company don't have any design capability or the ownership of the design?
True. It's very true. It happened to me. Even in my experience, we gave the drawing to the supplier. We asked them to produce the part. Then supplier will prepare the FMEA. They will make use of all the quality tools because they don't know whom to approach for design support. Design support lies with the OEM. They have to reach out to our regional office. Then we will go and get one guy from design. They have to reach out to us.
Excellent. I think as of now, we have answered all the questions, whatever has come in the chat box. One more question, last question we'll take.
There is one more.
Yeah, that's what I'm just checking. So 1 minute. What is the importance of AS 13000 series of the standards in ASD supply chain? How the series that the supply chain is taking these flown down requirement like AS 13,000?
See, if you look at AS 13,000 series, there is a standard for problem solving AD, there is a standard for MSA, there is a standard for PFMEA, there is a standard. One good thing with this standard is, earlier, each OEM go to the supplier and they started asking their own way of working. But once you start following this set standard, all the OEMs will agree to the standards. For suppliers, there is no no need to do multiple tasks. For the same thing, one supplier comes, you show this. Other supplier comes, you do something else. But if you follow the standard, you can just tell them we are following A standard. It's something like a harmonized way of doing the things.
Great. I think we have answered all your questions, and also few of our participants asked about your mobile number. We have shared it in the chat box.
Okay.
And one more question, last mostly Indian industry lack in implementation. Documentation may be an excellent option. Okay, that's a feedback. I think it's not a question. Good. I think we have come to the end of this webinar. From IDAT, we sincerely thank Mr. Manikandan for your time, and we thank all the participants for spending your valuable time in listening to this one of the most important requirement on the zero defect, because we all are from the aerospace industry. So thank you once again. I may request Shekhar sir to say a word of thanks. Thank you.
Sorry for the technical glitch.
No worries.
Okay.
Shekhar sir.
No problem. No problem. I think almost all the people stayed back. That shows the interest in the topic. So that's good, even with some kind of interruption. I think it is a wonderful session. Mr. Manikandan, thank you for sharing your journey and your experience with all of us. I think I'm sure at least a few of them will be motivated to try this out in their own organizations. And quality is everybody's job, the company. It's not just one person or only the quality department. Quality starts at the top and quality goes all the way to the bottom. And it's extremely important that quality becomes the basis of how you run your organization. So zero defects, like what Mr. Manikandan showed, has to be in the blood of the organization. It has to be the DNA. So which means that if the organization DNA is something else, you need to change the DNA, and that takes a lot of effort. And changing anything requires significant commitment, significant time, and significant amount of resources. But the payback is very heavy. Aerospace industry is unforgiving. And it's very important that we recognize that the zero defects is a very important aspect of how we do business. So with that message, I want to thank you, Mr. Manikandan, again, and thanks all the participants for coming and joining us for this. Hope it was beneficial, and look forward to having you more on the future webinars. And do check out idat.in and become members if you're not already members. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you all. We are signing off. Thank you so much.